Welcome to Mended Teacups, where we're sitting with our cups of tea, ready to chat with you about some of our home ed experiences. Molly, what's today's topic?
Okay, well, today we're going to talk about home ed FAQs, frequently asked questions. I think we all have that experience when we're out with our kids and people come up and ask some questions. And we've written down a number of them. So, Helen, what is question number one?
Are you a teacher?
And you come up with a answer, in my case, no.
Absolutely no. You don't have to be.
Yes.
And sometimes I go on to say the home ed parents I know who have been teachers have had to kind of put that to one side because learning to teach 30 children is not the same as teaching your own children
At home.
at
Yes.
home. It's a different thing.
Yes.
So
yeah. Do people normally people are okay with that answer, or how does it make you feel when people ask, are you a teacher?
Yeah, sometimes I sort of think, oh, do they think I need to be, or are they just in? Sometimes when people ask these questions, you wonder why the questions come up.
Yes.
Isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
They want to respond in
Yes.
some way.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
and sometimes you feel a little bit defensive,
Yes.
but yes, it
Or
depends.
a little insecure. I think sometimes I can
Okay.
feel that I sort of have to prove myself because no, I normally say no, I wasn't, but I'm not. But I used to work with children, and I've done a lot of children's ministry. As if
Yes.
that will just,
Yes. And then
might
sometimes,
count.
yes, I know.
It's like
Sometimes,
validating. You feel like
yes,
you have to validate yourself,
sometimes.
which actually you probably don't need to. But I do feel like I sort of have to.
And I think sometimes if I try to validate, then I slightly am missing the point.
Yes, yes.
I'm not a teacher, and you don't need to
No,
be.
exactly. Yes, I think that's really, really good. Yeah. Oh, now this one we've got a good podcast on
We
this
already
one, haven't
do.
we?
Question 2. What about socialisation?
Well, I arrived up to Bristol today feeling slightly frazzled because 4 kids need to be in
10 places?
five different things, because one was doing 2 activities tonight all at different times, and myself and the oldest were coming up here having managed to get 2 in different places. So I came and said, no, our children who just simply don't socialise, and plus this mother who has managed to get herself off the hamster wheel, and I'm not going to try and compete with anyone and make sure my kids do all the things. So not
very busy.
So yeah. So
yeah. I did like someone's answer. Oh, socialisation is a big problem. We don't have time to stop and do the academics.
Yes, that's very true. Yes, yeah. I think I normally say something like that. That we just, where there are so many things to do and so many children who are home educated these days.
Yes.
And so we get out and about a lot.
Yeah.
But actually, I think another one that I heard as well, which I've never actually said, but I think it's quite good if anybody, it could go a bit deeper, is that actually children learn to socialize. It's quite hard socializing in a playground, and actually it's great that that our kids don't have to learn to socialize in that way.
Yes, I think that's the true. I think it is. It's kind of a red herring question,
Yes,
isn't it?
it
And
is.
let's link
Yeah.
to our previous
Yes.
socialisation podcast.
And have a look at that one.
Question 3. Is that legal?
Fortunately, yes, it is. Fortunately, yes. In this
Yes.
country, it is. Not in all countries,
No.
but in this country, it is legal. Yes.
Yes. Children have to be educated at school or otherwise.
Yes, yes.
I
And
think
I think, and I may be wrong, so please write in and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't that start off with one of the royal children? I think one of the royal children didn't go to school. I'm not sure if it was the generation before our current Queen Elizabeth, and I think they had to write something in law to say that they had to be at home, educated at home or otherwise.
Right.
I think it came from that, but I might be completely wrong, so please correct me.
Of course, school is a relatively modern invention.
It is, isn't
Yes.
it? Yes.
So once upon a time, all children were at home until they became apprentices or whatever.
And actually, I think that's something really lovely when we read stories. We often read stories, and the children, it's just normal that the children were educated at home, and that's kind of fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Next question. Oh, so do you have to follow the national curriculum?
I get answered that so often. And I say, do you know, we don't actually, and that's fantastic. So we don't have to do SATs. And it really does. So this is if I'm pretending that I really am saying to somebody, and I would say, no, we don't. And so we really can learn around each individual child. And that's one of the complete joys of homeschooling. We can go with what they're interested in, and we can go with their particular strengths and their abilities and their learning styles. And actually, you can educate and learn different in different ways with different children as
Yes.
well. So
Yes.
so I'm teaching history with the girls in quite a different slant, although we're covering the same chronological time period as I did with the boys. We're focusing on quite different things than I did with the boys because the girls are just interested in different things.
Absolutely. And that's, yes, similarly, I would say, no, we're free to choose
Yeah.
our own path through learning,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
And that's such a fantastic, that's a great, I like that one. That's a good question and a good answer.
But once they know we don't have to follow the national curriculum, the next question, well, how do you know what you should do?
And I spoke to one mum recently who said, and I thought this was a great answer. She said she was going to say something along the lines of, she'd just they're sort of the beginning of their homeschool journey. We're just working that out at the moment. And I just thought that's great. We can work it out.
Absolutely.
And we'll let you know in 5 years' time how it went. So
there's so many resources to find out
yeah.
ideas. We do find each other.
Yes,
We
yes,
socialise
yes.
too. So homemade families find out from each other. We follow what our children are interested in.
Yeah.
We if you want to, you can download the national curriculum and find out what levels other children of their age would be at, if that's a concern to you. Or sometimes parents are considering sending their children to school a little bit later, so they want to feel that their children are kind of roughly at a level.
Yeah.
So you can get the information about where other children are in the national curriculum. Otherwise, follow your heart, follow your interests, follow your approach to learning. Your educational philosophy will define how you're going to approach these things.
Yeah, no, I think that's that's great, isn't it?
And then I often get asked that, do you get together with other people?
Do
Do
you?
you learn to? Yes, people are often interested. Well, do
Yeah.
you get together with people? Do you do things together?
Yeah.
And
That's an easy one for you to
well,
answer.
yes, my basic answer is yes, because I am
Yeah.
part of a cooperative learning
Yeah.
group. But I do often say, well, we can do, but experience has shown me that actually, because we're all individual families doing things our own way, we're often not quite on the same page.
Yes.
We don't want to approach maths in the same way, so it doesn't always work out as you might imagine if you haven't been in the home ed environment, I suppose.
Yes.
You don't necessarily want to say, I'm going to teach biology and get a class together who all want to learn biology, who all want to do the same curriculum of biology, who all want to study it to GCSE level over 2 years. Or there's always someone who wants, well, I would like to do biology, but I want to do it in 1 year. I'd like to do biology, but I only want to do it at Key Stage 2 level. Or I want to do we're all doing it. I want to do biology, but no yucky experiments.
Yes,
I want to do it, but the bigger the better, and the messier the
I'll do plants, not human beings. Yes.
Yes, the number of times you put out an idea on a home ed message board and someone says, "Oh, yes, but
Yes.
can we do it on Tuesday, not Thursday? Can we do it in the morning, not the afternoon?"
Yes.
So, yes, getting together with other people to learn together has its pros and cons.
I think that's something for that I've really been so impressed with in Bristol, with the big Christian home ed community here, and I'm sure that in other cities and other localities they are similar. I know there's a good one kind of New Forest, Southampton way, and that is just, that's such a blessing. I think that's such a blessing, because even if it's not getting together to learn, it's getting together socially and to encourage each other. And I think that if you live in a place where there's lots going on, that actually the temptation could be that you could be doing something, meeting with people and doing activities all the time. And actually it's then trying to trying to hone in and just make sure that there are those times. And for some families that will be right. If you're all extroverts, then actually that will be fantastic. But if there's one or two introverts in the family, or you feel you actually just need to get some academic work done as well by yourselves, you it's sort of is putting boundaries in and making sure that, so the problem may not be do you get together with other people, but it's more actually I need to make sure that I have time at home by myself. And actually, even for us, although we don't live in Bristol and so we can't join in sort of a lot of the regular things, but it is lovely. There are still lots of things we can do and people we can see and come up and meet up with you, and but I know that for myself I need to have a few mornings at home which are ring fenced, that actually I can just get on and just get some of the ticks done that I feel that I need to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so there's getting together with other people for different reasons, aren't there?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we get asked, how can you do that? Or people say, I could never do that.
Yeah.
How's your approach to that question?
I think that's the one I find the most difficult, actually, because in a sense, I'm never quite sure if the person is coming from, if it's coming from a place of challenging me, or if it's coming from a place of genuinely just being interested, or if it's coming from a place of that person being a bit kind of insecure, sure, this is quite a good thing to do and maybe I should be doing it. And I wouldn't want to put that on anybody. So I think I've come up with over the years, and this is my genuine thing, is that every family is different, and this is particularly for Christian families, Christian mums, I say this too. Every family is different and God calls us to different things, and just because this is a journey that God has called us to doesn't mean to say that that's a journey that God has called you to. And I think the most important thing is that each family, each parents pray about and lay before God your children, and how it is God you want to bring them up and educate them. And so long as it's your audience is one, so long as it's between you and God, and God has showed you you're doing the right path for you, then actually you can be surrounded by people who are home educating, and it shouldn't bother you, because actually you are doing the thing that God is requiring of you. And just the same as if vice versa, if you're a home educating family surrounded by families at school, if you're secure in the fact that that is what God has asked us to do, then actually it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. So it's both two ways. So it's between us and God, I kind of think.
I sometimes come from that question thinking, what do they think of me? Do they think that I'm some amazing, ultra patient, I don't know, knowledgeable person?
Which is,
They put me on. It feels like they put me on a pedestal. I think I don't belong that on a pedestal. If you know me, you know my flaws. I'm not some kind of super mum. I'm probably one of the least patient people I know. I get it wrong a lot. Maybe more often than get it right. We're not these superhuman hero people, are we? We're just regular mums.
Too right.
So if you think that you have to be as amazing as I am, well, just let me tell you, I'm not amazing. So, but the other thing I have been starting to think is, if you are imagining the time you've had with your children up until the age of, say, 4-ish, before they go to school, and think it's going to be like that. It isn't.
It isn't, no.
You don't have a 4-year-old forever. So yes, the preschool years are quite hard work.
Yes.
You have to do everything for your children. You have to remind them of everything. You have to teach them all the time about the basics, don't you? You have to put them in their coat and strap them in the car seat. All those things. They can't do those things for themselves. So if you're thinking, oh my goodness, it's hard looking after children, and I couldn't keep them at home, I'm looking forward to them being at school. I think I would say it's not like that. Life's not. Home education life is not like that, because the children grow and develop. They can start doing things for themselves, and so perhaps that's what's informing some people's kind of amazement that you could do that, because they're just thinking of, well, I've got a 4-year-old and I wouldn't want them to stay at home forever. But part of me thinks, oh, just as they're getting interesting.
Yes, they're going. Yes.
They're going, that's a shame.
Somebody said to me the other day, well, I can't even get my kids to do homework at home. Now, how do you do that? And again, it sort of flummoxed me because it's a lifestyle, isn't
Yes.
it? And I probably couldn't get them to do homework if all I did was the homework. But it's because it's part of a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to get across, that actually it is simply a very different lifestyle, and it's not better, it's not worse, it's different.
Yeah.
And that's kind of foundational, really, to understanding it.
Yes. And I also just say, if you knew as many different kind of homeschooling mums as I do,
Yes.
you would discover there are all sorts of characters who can take this on, and some of the most surprising characters successfully home educate. There's some mums I know who have struggled and have persevered because they really feel that that's what they're called to. And I think if you knew the mums I know, you would know that anyone can.
Yes.
If that's what they're called to, and if that's what their heart's desire is to do.
Yeah. And I think that's what it comes down to, isn't it? If it's something that we feel that God has called us to do, then we can get on and do it. And it doesn't mean that, like you said, it doesn't mean that we are in any way super mums or super able to do all these things. It's because in a sense, I often think it's in our weakness. And I think certainly homeschooling for me has shown me my weaknesses more than anything, and I come up against all my faults and all my touch points and all my weaknesses, and actually it's knowing God's grace, and so it's clinging to my Saviour often. So I think that's actually also just a good coming place, that actually we don't do it because we're good at it. We do it because we feel that God has asked us to do it, and we have to do it in his strength, simply because we can't do it on our own strength.
Definitely.
Sort of. Yes.
Okay, here's another question. What do you do all day?
Oh, I'd love to say, well, I just sit and paint my nails.
Yes, I sit and do my crochet.
Yeah, read the paper.
Let the children get on with it. Give them a book and say, come back when you've finished.
Yes. And that's $1 million question, because we can all answer it in different ways. Absolutely. Can't we? So I suppose it's just just saying it as snippets of, I think people are genuine, but if they're asking things like that, they're probably genuinely interested, actually, and they just want to know. So just saying a bit about what we do in our day. Which will be different for everybody. Exactly.
It can be in, it can be out, it can be here, it can be there. It can be books, it can be music. It's so varied, isn't it? And that's the joy of it all, isn't it?
Definitely.
And I think we have covered a typical day.
We have,
yes.
So we'll have to link to that one.
We will. Okay. One more question. Do you have to register? Or do you get inspected?
Oh, now that's a tough one, isn't it?
It is. It's a bit touchy at the moment.
It is a bit touchy at the moment for anyone in the home ed community. What are we, 2019? September 2019, for anyone who's listening back on this one. So it is, it's a hot topic at the moment. So it's died a little bit because of Brexit. Yes.
And all the Parliament shenanigans.
They've got other things to talk about.
Yes, they have. So, but I think there's a rise in home education. The government's a bit worried about what we're doing to our children behind closed doors, which is there's no evidence for any untoward behaviour. It's all built on sort of knee-jerk reactions to what home education must be like, or could be like, I suppose. So there is movement to get us to register and have inspections. I don't know how they're going to do that, because I don't think they've got the people or the money to pay for that. But no, at the moment, we don't have to be registered. The premise is that parents are responsible for the education of their children, in school or otherwise. If you send them to school, then the school must be inspected to make sure that the place you choose to delegate your educational authority to is suitable for your children. So the government has a duty then to inspect the schools and say, yes, this school is matching up to the standard we require. But if you choose to keep your children at home, then the government has no responsibility to say that your home is suitable. So Yes, hot topic.
Hot topic.
And we're resisting.
Yes, but that is
and trying to help, encourage, and educate people into what home education really is like. Instead of them thinking, "Oh, that sounds weird," or "That sounds worrying."
And I think it's just really got tagged onto a lot of other things wrongly. So, so when there are other agendas, I'm quite sure. Yeah. So, but at the moment, we don't have to register, which is an amazing freedom, which I think I would just encourage anybody just to keep praying for and praying about, because it is it's a blessing.
Yes, and it's not just about home educating actually.
If they have to register us with our 4-year-old children, do they have to register us with our 2-year-old children? Yes. There were just a lot of. We won't get into it, will we? No. But yes, but at the moment we don't have to, so that's good.
So that's some of the frequently asked questions, and some of our answers we've developed over time. Hope you've enjoyed listening. Look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Okay, bye bye.